Okay, so when Russell Brand was in the news for the whole Me Too stuff, Me Too allegations, the folks over at YouTube all of a sudden decided that creators could now talk about child sex abuse um, and be monetized. Whereas, until that point, it was disincentivized essentially from a financial perspective to cover these topics because you knew that you were going to get that yellow dollar sign and you weren't going to make any money off of your videos. And all of a sudden they want to financially incentivize it so you can start talking about it. As long as you're not gross and explicit and everything, you can discuss these issues. What do you think about that? I mean, I thought personally myself as a creator, it just seemed very odd that these topics have been out there for a long time. Child sex trafficking, child sex abuse has been out there for a long time. It seemed oddly timed that when somebody like Russell Brand, is in the news over these allegations, that now all of a sudden YouTube wants to incentivize us to talk about these issues. And since you cover these issues related to Jeffrey Epstein at all, I should say, because it's not just Jeffrey Epstein, right? What do you think about that? Any ideas?
There was a cult called the Finders that was busted trafficking children, and they were busted in Tallahassee, and ultimately the Tallahassee police arrested two of the Finders, and they had 6 kids with them that were ragamuffins. I mean, these kids had insect bites and they were dirty. And what happened there was the CIA quashed the case. And I had that. I did an episode on the Finders with Elizabeth Voss. She's a journalist that did some amazing work on the Finders. And that was yanked from my YouTube channel. And my YouTube channel, it's kind of funny. I'll have so many subscribers, and then all of a sudden I won't have those subscribers, or I'll have so many views, and then all of a sudden I won't have those views. Now, I don't know if that's standard operating procedure for YouTube. I mean, I've been told that I will eventually get yanked from YouTube. But at this point, there's my vanishing subscribers and my vanishing viewers that are somewhat troubling to me.
Oh yeah, I have that issue too. Well, this is the title of the video Bill and I did for our media show. After Russell Brand's sex abuse videos get ad money. So now you can get ad money because what I've realized about this whole game is that whenever it's advantageous to the powers that be that we talk about a particular issue, then it gets incentivized. And then if it's not advantageous to them, then it gets disincentivized. And, that seems so simple. And a lot of people will be like, duh. But when I was in TV news not that long ago, I would have, I don't know what I would have thought about that. I mean, I might have even thought that was like a conspiracy theory that it was that intentional. But what I think happened in that particular case was there were a lot of people who wanted to be able to talk about Russell Brand that don't like Russell Brand. And they're like calling YouTube up and it's advantageous for them to be able to do it. And like, hey, you need to take the locks off of this because we're able to talk about it. But it's just fascinating to me that like in the case of Jeffrey Epstein, that didn't happen. Say it was just organic. Say it was just an organic thing that a bunch of people wanted to talk about it. Enough people were yelling at YouTube to change their policy and it worked. You could see how the loudest voices can change history. They really can. And in this particular case, you have to wonder, like, well, where were all the voices? I mean, in part, is it our fault? If we watch this stuff, like we hear what you're saying with the government and the corruption and its relation to child sex abuse, and there aren't enough of us calling powerful people to stop it, or we're not yelling enough about it, or whatever we need to be doing. I mean, is it our responsibility? Because in the case of Russell Brand, something changed. And I think, in part, it was because there were enough people who had enough red phones to the folks over at YouTube to make them uncomfortable that they decided to unlock it. And it also didn't run countercurrent to any of their ideas about their social engineering that they want. I mean, I think it ran with their ideas of what they want to see society look like. Russell Brand moved over to Rumble. He was doing very well over there. I don't think it necessarily hurt them a whole lot to say yes. In another case, they might not say yes because it doesn't get them anywhere. I don't know. That's just my final thought on it.
Sean Atwood was hitting Epstein really hard just about every day, and he got yanked from YouTube.
Yeah.
So I think that YouTube keeps I think that YouTube, definitely keeps tabs on people that, for me, my podcast isn't that big, so I don't have to worry about getting yanked. There's not enough people listening to me for YouTube to yank me. But if my podcast does get big, I firmly believe that I'll suffer the same fate as Sean Atwood. I'll get yanked. I think that that's the way it is. I mean, my interactions with YouTube, as I said, haven't been extremely positive.
Just a shout out, if you like wine, if you're a wine drinker and you want to support my work, I just had a guy on YouTube complain about ad reads after he watched a free video. So for all of you who are watching this video for free somewhere, this is why I do ad reads, because you're watching this for free. And believe you me, the ad revenue on YouTube at this point does not even pay for babysitting. So they don't like me. They probably don't like Nick. And I don't know what this video is going to do anyway on YouTube. Thank you so much to the editorial board, people who subscribe over on Rockfin, tip over on Rumble. It really does keep the podcast going. And if you're already, like I said, a buyer of some of the products in my affiliate links, check out the link description and the pinned comment, and you can go shop and support the work. But we'll just start with the wine. At AllisonWinePromo.com, you get to support my work and get some amazing wines from extremist regions of Argentina. You get 50% off the wine and 50% off shipping. It's a very pro-freedom, free speech company. And also the wine comes from very boutique vineyards, small family farms, natural fermentation, and no filtration. The grapes are at like 6,000 to 9,000 feet. They work very hard for your taste buds, just like Nick and I are working for you right now. So consider going to AllisonWinePromo.com. Get yourself some wine to get through the rest of this crazy year. Who knows what's coming up next after this? You know you're going to need a drink at the end of this, at least after this podcast, if not after many more podcasts I do in 2024. So go to AllisonWinePromo.com. Your last thoughts, what you want them to do, where they can follow you. Wrap the show for us, please.
Ultimately, the government and the media aren't going to address Jeffrey Epstein and the perpetrators. It's really up to us, the American people, to address these really grievous injustices. And if we don't, shame on us. But I think there's a huge upside to this, because, as I said earlier, if we really auger into the Epstein issue, I think we will eventually come across a cesspool that is enacting the laws in the United States, and we will find out that a number of our politicians are blackmailed, and we cannot have a government that aids and abets child trafficking. We are the United States of America. We are the greatest nation on earth. We cannot let our government aid and abet child trafficking so blatantly as it's doing now with Jeffrey Epstein. That's why I've started EpsteinJustice.com. Please visit us today at EpsteinJustice.com.